Most people in life wake up because they have to, not because they want to. They wake up because the alarm clock tells them it's time, because the job demands it, because responsibilities leave no choice. But let me tell you something. There's a big difference between waking up to an alarm and waking up with a purpose. One forces you out of bed. The other pulls you into the day with excitement. One feels heavy, the other feels light. One says, I must. The other says, I get to. When I began to shift my mornings, I realized that success doesn't start at the office. It starts before you even leave your bedroom. Think about it. If the very first thought you have in the morning is, oh no, not another day, then your energy is already in decline. But if your first thought is, what can I create today? What can I contribute today? What progress can I make today? Then suddenly the day feels like an opportunity rather than a burden. Purpose is like fuel, and when you pour it into your mornings, the entire engine of your life runs differently. Now, don't misunderstand me. Purpose is not something you find by accident. Purpose is something you choose. You don't have to wait for a grand revelation to wake up with meaning. You can start small. Maybe your purpose today is to be a better parent. Maybe it's to finish that project you've been delaying. Maybe it's to take a single step toward your dream. The point is, you wake up with something to aim for, and that target gives direction to your energy. Without it, you're like a boat without a rudder, tossed by whatever winds the day brings. I used to be like most people, dragging myself out of bed, already behind before the day had even started. But then I discovered that the way you begin sets the tone for the way you continue. If you begin in frustration, you carry frustration. If you begin in clarity, you carry clarity. That's why I stopped calling it an alarm clock and started calling it an opportunity clock. An alarm means danger, a threat, a reason to panic. Opportunity means growth, reward, and potential. Imagine the difference in how you'd approach your day. If every morning your thought wasn't, I'm late, but instead, I'm ready. Another thing I learned is that mornings don't just belong to the wealthy or the successful, they belong to the intentional. You don't need millions in the bank to wake up with purpose. You don't need a title on your door. You simply need a reason that excites you enough to get out of bed. That's what separates people who drift from people who lead. Leaders, creators, and achievers all share one thing in common: they don't let the day decide for them, they decide for the day. I often tell people that waking up with purpose doesn't mean waking up to do more. It means waking up to be more. Sometimes purpose isn't about checking items off a to-do list. Sometimes it's about showing up differently. It's about being more patient with your family, being more present with your work, being more disciplined with your habits. That shift in mindset is what gives ordinary days extraordinary value. And let me give you a practical key. The night before determines the morning after. If you end your day with chaos, you'll wake up with confusion. But if you end your day by preparing for tomorrow, writing down your goals, setting your clothes aside, creating a plan, you wake up already ahead. That way, when the clock rings, you don't waste time asking, what now? You already know what matters most. That small preparation transforms mornings from stressful to powerful. Here's the truth. Waking up with purpose doesn't guarantee that every day will go perfectly. No, challenges will still come, difficulties will still arise, but purpose gives you a reason to face them. It gives you a reason to persist. It reminds you why you're in the fight. And that's the difference between people who quit when it gets hard and people who push through until they succeed. So let me challenge you. Tomorrow morning, don't just let the alarm drag you out of bed. Sit up, take a deep breath, and ask yourself one question. What's my purpose today? And don't settle for a vague answer. Be specific. Be intentional. Write it down if you have to. Because if you can win the morning, you can win the day. And if you string enough purposeful mornings together, you will win your life. The great mistake is thinking change has to take years. In reality, it can begin the very next time your eyes open. The habit of waking up with purpose is simple, but it's powerful. It can take an ordinary person and make them extraordinary. It can take wasted years and turn them into productive months. It can turn dread into drive. Wake up with purpose, not just alarms. And you'll discover that life doesn't just happen to you, you happen to life. Writing transforms thoughts into reality. What lives only in your mind is fragile, it drifts in and out like a passing cloud. But when you take the time to put pen to paper, you take something invisible and make it visible. You capture what was once only a spark and turn it into something you can hold, revisit, and build upon. That simple act of writing gives shape and structure to what otherwise would remain unformed potential. It is the bridge between imagination and destiny. Think of how many brilliant ideas vanish every day simply because they were never written down. Inspiration often arrives in unexpected moments, while walking, before sleep, or in the middle of a conversation. Without the habit of capturing it, those ideas dissolve into the noise of daily life. But the person who writes has an advantage. They build a library of their own mind. With a notebook, a journal, or even a scrap of paper, they preserve seeds that can later grow into plans, projects, and breakthroughs. Writing also clarifies. When your thoughts are swirling in your head, they feel larger, more complicated, and sometimes overwhelming. But once written down, confusion gives way to clarity. Writing forces you to arrange your thoughts, to decide what matters most, to filter the essential from the trivial. It is impossible to write without thinking, and it is impossible to write consistently without discovering your priorities. What was fog becomes focus. The act of writing is not just recording, it is refining. Beyond clarity, writing creates accountability. When you see your goals written in black and white, they stop being dreams and start becoming commitments. A thought in the mind can be adjusted, delayed, or forgotten with ease. But a written word stares back at you, reminding you of the promise you made to yourself. There is a seriousness in writing something down because words on paper create weight. They hold you responsible in a way that wishful thinking never can. Writing also activates the power of belief. When you write what you want, you send a signal not only to your mind but also to your emotions. You begin to imagine the possibility of achievement. A goal that is written feels more tangible than one left floating in your imagination. Over time, the written word imprints itself into your subconscious, shaping your daily decisions. Slowly, your actions begin to align with what you wrote, and life starts moving in that direction. This is how writing transforms from a simple habit into a tool of manifestation. Writing is also a mirror of growth. When you write daily, you create a record of your evolution. You can look back weeks, months, or years later and see how far you've come. What once seemed impossible becomes normal. Problems that once weighed you down may now appear small and insignificant. Writing allows you to measure your journey, to recognize progress that you may otherwise overlook. Without a record, it is easy to forget how much you've grown. With writing, you create undeniable proof, but perhaps the greatest power of writing is that it creates direction. Life is full of distractions, and without a plan, it is easy to drift. Writing down your goals, your schedule, and your intentions brings order to the chaos. It gives you a compass. Even if you don't know every step of the journey, writing down the destination points your energy in the right direction. Day by day, you adjust, adapt, and refine. But because you wrote it down, you are less likely to wander off course. A week of writing can change how you think. A month of writing can change your habits. A year of writing can change your destiny. All it takes is the discipline to capture your thoughts and the courage to commit them to paper. Those who write build their future twice, once in their imagination and once in their notebook. And because the written word carries permanence, it keeps pulling you forward when motivation fades. Think of how many brilliant ideas vanish every day simply because they were never written down. Inspiration often arrives in unexpected moments, while walking, before sleep, or in the middle of a conversation. Without the habit of capturing it, those ideas dissolve into the noise of daily life. But the person who writes has an advantage. They build a library of their own mind. With a notebook, a journal, or even a scrap of paper, they preserve seeds that can later grow into plans, projects, and breakthroughs. Writing also clarifies. When your thoughts are swirling in your head, they feel larger, more complicated, and sometimes overwhelming. But once written down, confusion gives way to clarity. Writing forces you to arrange your thoughts, to decide what matters most, to filter the essential from the trivial. It is impossible to write without thinking, and it is impossible to write consistently without discovering your priorities. What was fog becomes focus. The act of writing is not just recording, it is refining. Beyond clarity, writing creates accountability. When you see your goals written in black and white, they stop being dreams and start becoming commitments. A thought in the mind can be adjusted, delayed, or forgotten with ease, but a written word stares back at you, reminding you of the promise you made to yourself. There is a seriousness in writing something down because words on paper create weight. They hold you responsible in a way that wishful thinking never can. Writing also activates the power of belief. When you write what you want, you send a signal not only to your mind, but also to your emotions. You begin to imagine the possibility of achievement. A goal that is written feels more tangible than one left floating in your imagination. Over time, the written word imprints itself into your subconscious, shaping your daily decisions. Slowly, your actions begin to align with what you wrote, and life starts moving in that direction. This is how writing transforms from a simple habit into a tool of manifestation. Writing is also a mirror of growth. When you write daily, you create a record of your evolution. You can look back weeks, months, or years later and see how far you've come. What once seemed impossible becomes normal. Problems that once weighed you down may now appear small and insignificant. Writing allows you to measure your journey, to recognize progress that you may otherwise overlook. Without a record, it is easy to forget how much you've grown. With writing, you create undeniable proof. But perhaps the greatest power of writing is that it creates direction. Life is full of distractions, and without a plan, it is easy to drift. Writing down your goals, your schedule, and your intentions brings order to the chaos. It gives you a compass. Even if you don't know every step of the journey, writing down the destination points your energy in the right direction. Day by day, you adjust, adapt, and refine, but because you wrote it down, you are less likely to wander off course. A week of writing can change how you think. A month of writing can change your habits. A year of writing can change your destiny. All it takes is the discipline to capture your thoughts and the courage to commit them to paper. Those who write build their future twice, once in their imagination and once in their notebook. And because the written word carries permanence, it keeps pulling you forward when motivation fades. Think of it like compound interest. You may not feel different on day one. You may not even notice a huge shift after day two. But give it a week, and you start to think differently. Give it a month, and you start to act differently. Give it a year, and you won't even recognize the person you've become. Every single page, every lesson, every idea, it stacks, it compounds, it multiplies. Soon, you'll realize you're solving problems faster, seeing opportunities clearer, and believing in yourself stronger. But let me also give you a warning. The opposite is just as true. If you spend every day filling your mind with negativity, with complaints, with gossip, with meaningless entertainment, then that too compounds. Soon you'll wonder why your vision feels cloudy, why your energy feels drained, why your future feels stuck. It's not because life is against you. It's because your mind is undernourished. So the choice is simple. Will you let the world feed you by default, or will you feed yourself with intention? If you can discipline yourself to give your mind 30 minutes of wisdom every day, you'll never lack direction again. Books, podcasts, mentors, seminars, they are all meals for the mind. And the more you consume, the stronger you become. A single idea captured at the right moment can change the course of your life forever, but you can't catch ideas if you're not exposing yourself to them. That's why daily feeding is not optional. It's essential. If you want to think bigger, earn more, live better, and leave a legacy, you must first change what you're putting into your head. Remember this, your mind is the garden of your future. Plant weeds and you'll harvest regret. Plant wisdom and you'll harvest success. Feed it daily and watch your entire life transform. Attitude is the hidden force behind performance. You can have the best skills, the most advanced knowledge, and even the right resources, but if your attitude is wrong, your performance will never reach its potential. Think about it Two people with the same level of ability can enter the same field, face the same challenges, and pursue the same goals. Yet one rises and the other falls. What makes the difference? Not talent, not luck. It's the attitude they bring into the game of life. A good attitude is like oxygen to performance. It feeds your actions with energy, enthusiasm, and determination. When you have the right outlook, you see work not as a burden, but as an opportunity. You approach problems not as dead ends, but as puzzles to be solved. You see setbacks not as failures, but as feedback. And that perspective alone changes how you perform, because the mind fuels the body. A defeated attitude creates defeated actions. A winning attitude creates winning actions. One of the great truths I've discovered is that people don't fail primarily because of a lack of ability. They fail because of a lack of will, and will is driven by attitude. The truth is, life rarely goes exactly the way we want it to. The weather changes, the economy shifts, relationships go through storms. But the individual who maintains a strong, focused, and positive attitude is the one who adjusts their sail and keeps moving. The one who complains, who resists, who allows negativity to dominate. Well, they stall, they stop, they sink. Attitude is a multiplier. If your skills are a 5, but your attitude is a 10, you will outperform someone with skills of an 8, but an attitude of a 2. Why? Because people with the right attitude don't quit when it's hard. They don't slack when it's boring. They don't excuse themselves when it's tempting to take shortcuts. They keep showing up. They keep pushing forward, and they keep giving their best. That consistency, that energy, that resilience, it compounds over time, and soon their performance leaves others far behind. Now let's flip it around. Imagine someone with extraordinary talent, but a poor attitude. They might start strong, they might impress people at first, but soon the cracks show, laziness creeps in, entitlement grows, and excuses multiply. They become difficult to work with, hard to trust, and eventually opportunities begin to disappear. It doesn't matter how high your potential is if your attitude keeps pulling you back down. Performance is never just about what you can do, it's about what you're willing to do, and willingness is born in attitude. This is why leaders, organizations, and mentors always emphasize the importance of attitude. They know they can train skill, but they can't train desire. They can teach technique, but they can't teach hunger. Those things must come from within, and they spring from the way you choose to think and the spirit you carry with you every day. That's why you must guard your attitude like a treasure. Feed it with gratitude, strengthen it with discipline, and protect it from negativity. Because if your attitude is strong, your performance will always rise to meet it. Here's the wonderful part. You don't need perfect conditions to have the right attitude. In fact, it's often the worst conditions that give birth to the strongest attitudes. When you choose to stay positive in adversity, when you decide to keep working while others are quitting, when you commit to doing your best regardless of recognition or reward, you build a kind of mental toughness that no setback can take away. That toughness drives your performance to levels others can't match because they lack the spirit that carries you through. Attitude also determines how much joy you experience in your work. High performance isn't just about output, it's about engagement. If you approach tasks with bitterness, everything feels heavy. But if you approach them with gratitude and enthusiasm, even ordinary work becomes meaningful. People notice, leaders notice, clients notice, and opportunities flow toward those who bring light with them. That's the invisible advantage of attitude. It doesn't just improve your performance, it also improves your presence, making you the kind of person others want to follow, support, and reward. At the end of the day, your performance is not a reflection of your circumstances, but of your choices. And the first choice, the one that influences all others, is the choice of attitude. Choose to see the good. Choose to rise after you fall. Choose to keep learning, keep trying, keep moving. Because when your attitude is right, you will not only perform better, you will live better. Remember, this truth skill may set the stage, but attitude decides the show. And if you want to climb higher, if you want to reach your greatest altitude, then every day, in every situation, choose the attitude that drives your performance forward. Attitude controls energy, It's one of the most powerful truths you can learn about success, happiness, and achievement. You see, energy is the fuel that drives your daily life. Without energy, even the greatest dreams remain dormant. Even the best skills go unused. Even the clearest goals stay on paper. And what determines the quality of that energy? Not your environment, not the economy, not the government. It's your attitude. Your inner posture toward life sets the thermostat for your energy. When your attitude is positive, hopeful, and disciplined, your energy multiplies. When your attitude is negative, doubtful, and resentful, your energy drains and even small tasks feel heavy. Think about it. Two people can wake up on the same morning with the same weather outside, the same challenges ahead, but one will step into the day full of energy, excitement, and optimism, while the other will stumble through it, tired, irritated, and defeated before the day even begins. What's the difference? It isn't the weather or the circumstances. It's the way they decided to show up. Your attitude is the switch that either turns your energy on or shuts it off. People often blame fatigue on workload, but have you noticed that when you're doing something you love, energy seems endless? You can work late, you can study longer, you can push further, and yet you feel alive. But take that same body, that same set of hours, and give it a task filled with bitterness or a mindset full of complaints, and suddenly you feel exhausted before you even start. The body is the same. The hours are the same. The only difference is the spirit in which you approach it. That's why attitude is the real engine of energy. Energy controlled by the right attitude becomes contagious. Walk into a room with a bright spirit, a confident smile, and a belief that things can work out, and you lift the energy of everyone around you. People want to follow you, listen to you, and partner with you. But walk into that same room with a sour mood, a defeated tone, and an attitude that nothing ever works, and you'll notice how quickly the room drains. You don't just control your own energy, you influence the atmosphere of every environment you enter. That's why leaders, parents, teachers, and entrepreneurs must guard their attitude carefully. It's not just about you. It's about the people who feed off your energy. Here's something to remember: life is not about conserving energy. It's about creating it. Most people wait for energy to arrive. They say, I'll be excited when something good happens. I'll be motivated when I see results. But that's backward. The people who climb higher don't wait for energy. They generate it with their attitude. They bring enthusiasm before success arrives. They show gratitude before abundance comes. And because their attitude generates energy, energy generates action, and action generates results. This is the cycle of achievement. Attitude-controlled energy also determines your endurance. Anybody can start with excitement, but only those with the right attitude can sustain it. Problems will come. Delays will frustrate you. People will disappoint you. But if your attitude is strong, you won't burn out, because you'll see challenges as part of the journey, not the end of it. You'll remind yourself that setbacks are teachers, not stop signs. With that kind of attitude, your energy doesn't vanish when times get tough. It deepens. You become stronger, more determined, and more alive. And don't overlook this. Your health is connected to your attitude as well. Studies show that optimism strengthens the immune system, lowers stress, and improves recovery. That means attitude doesn't just control mental energy. It controls physical energy too. A joyful, grateful outlook can literally make your body lighter and your steps quicker. A bitter, resentful outlook can weigh down your body, your face, and even your health. The mind and body eye are not separate. The energy of your thoughts writes itself into your physical being. So, what's the lesson? Guard your attitude like treasure. Begin each day with gratitude, because gratitude generates energy. Choose your associations wisely, because people with toxic attitudes will drain your energy faster than anything else. Speak words of faith, hope, and courage, because what you speak shapes what you feel. And most importantly, decide that no matter what the circumstances are, you will approach life with a posture of growth, resilience, and optimism. Because at the end of the day, your energy is not about what you have, it's about how you think. Attitude controls energy, and the person with energy can outlast, outlearn, and outperform almost anyone. Success doesn't always belong to the most talented, but it almost always belongs to the most energized. So decide today that your attitude will lift your energy will lift your actions, and your actions will lift your life. And when that cycle begins, there is no limit to how high you can climb. Attitude predicts altitude. It is the invisible force that lifts you up or pulls you down. When people talk about success, they often point to talent, resources, or connections. And while those things have their place, none of them will carry you far without the right mindset. Attitude is the difference maker, the deciding factor, the invisible law that works quietly but consistently in shaping your future. Two people can start at the same point, yet one soars and the other struggles. The one who soars isn't always the most educated, the most skilled, or the most privileged. More often, it is the one who chose to keep a right attitude through every season. Think about it. When a plane takes off, it does so at the right angle. That angle is called its attitude. If the nose is set too low, the plane stays on the ground. If the angle is right, it lifts and rises to higher altitudes. Life works the same way. The nose of the plane is your mindset. If you keep it tilted downward with fear, negativity, or doubt, you stay grounded. But if you adjust your perspective upward, you gain altitude. This is why attitude is so critical. It literally sets the direction of your life. Attitude shapes how you see problems. Someone with a defeated mindset sees an obstacle and calls it the end. Someone with a resilient attitude sees the same obstacle and calls it a test. The difference is not in the size of the problem, but in the strength of the mindset facing it. This is why people with a positive attitude rise higher. They do not escape difficulty, but they interpret it differently. What others call failure, they call feedback. What others call pressure, they call preparation. The lesson is clear: your attitude will always be greater than your circumstances. Your attitude also determines how people respond to you. Opportunities do not just come because of your skills. They often come because of your spirit. People enjoy working with those who bring energy, hope, and possibility into the room. If you carry a complaining, bitter, or doubtful spirit, doors begin to close. But if you carry enthusiasm, gratitude, and faith, doors begin to open. People want to help, recommend, and invest in those who radiate possibility. A good attitude makes you attracted to opportunity. Attitude is also the driver of performance. You can have knowledge, but without the will to apply it, knowledge becomes wasted. You can have talent, but if you carry arrogance or laziness, your talent will decay. Attitude is what fuels discipline. It's what makes you study one more hour, take one more call, give one more effort when others have stopped. Those who rise in life are not just those with the best gifts, but those who combine their gifts with the right attitude. Talent without attitude creates disappointment. Talent with attitude creates excellence. Another truth is that your attitude controls your energy. Every day you are either charging your battery or draining it. A poor attitude drains you before the day even begins. You wake up expecting the worst, and so everything feels heavy. A strong attitude, however, recharges your energy. You wake up with hope, gratitude, and determination, and suddenly even the difficult tasks feel possible. Your attitude is your energy source, and if you protect it, you protect your progress. Ultimately, your altitude in life is not determined by your background, your resources, or even your education. It is determined by what you believe, how you respond, and what you expect from yourself and the world around you. People with the right mindset often outperform those with more advantages because they refuse to give up, they refuse to settle. They keep adjusting their sail until they catch the right wind. So, if you want to change your altitude, start with your attitude. Don't wait for perfect conditions because they rarely arrive. Don't wait for life to get easier, decide to get stronger. Every day, choose gratitude over complaint, courage over fear, and faith over doubt. Small adjustments in your mindset create big changes in your future. Just like a plane only needs a slight shift to climb, you only need small, consistent changes in your attitude to rise higher. In the end, remember this: your life will not rise higher than your mindset. Skills, money, and connections can open doors, but it is your attitude that keeps you climbing. Guard it, nurture it, and keep it pointed upward. Because no matter where you start, no matter what you face, one principle will always remain true. Attitude predicts altitude.